Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back for another track guide video. Today we'll take a look at the street stocks around Charlotte in the daytime. If this is your first trip out to Charlotte with the street stock, then you should know that this can be a really fun and rewarding track. One of the benefits that this track has when you run street stocks on it is that it produces some very tight, close racing, and that really teaches you how to drive around other people, when to give room, when to make moves, and when to hold your cards and wait another lap and just kind of run your line. So there is a lot of skills for you to pick up and practice this week. The street stock here drives like you're racing on a miniature Daytona. So it's mostly on throttle, and really the only times that you're going to lift out of the throttle is to avoid running into the back of somebody when you get a good draft, or if you need to save the car mid-corner because maybe the back end is stepping out a bit more than you would like for it to. Which might not be completely uncommon because the cars here can feel a little bit loose. When you turn down into the corner, you can feel the back end want to kind of rotate and lose a little bit of grip. But that's okay because this track has so much banking, you can really get away with letting that happen a little bit and know that the banking is going to catch you, so you don't really have to counter steer into that slide all the time. If it gets too bad, you'll have to, but usually you don't. Because this place is like a miniature super speedway, the draft is extremely important. So if you're too far back and you lose that extra toe down the straight, that just free speed, then you're going to start dropping off pretty quickly. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the qualifying lap, shall we? And then we'll discuss it. Okay, now for the fun part. So at most of these tracks, you're going to want to take the high line to start your qualifying lap. That lets you carry the most speed and momentum through the corner. It can be kind of sketchy loose up by the wall, you'll have to play with the steering a bit, but if you can get this, you'll find some extra speed in qualifying. Then we'll turn down and get real low before we cross the start finish line because that takes a few feet out of our distance in the lap. Alright, here's where things get a bit interesting. So you can see I'm not right up next to the wall. These cars are slow enough and have enough grip that you don't have to go all the way to the wall to start your arc into the corner. But you want to turn down and the back of the car feels a little bit loose, so you might have to modulate the steering a bit. You can see right there I'm having to back out of the steering just a tad to keep the car going the right direction. But you want to get down to this blue and white line, and you want to get your left front tire as close to this line as possible without hitting the apron. If you do hit the apron, it'll shoot the car up the track about a lane or so, and you definitely don't want that if somebody's real close on your outside. But you keep your foot down, absolutely no lifting. And as you come out of the corner, once again, you've got enough grip for your speed that you don't need to track all the way out to the wall. But you also don't want to hug that line too long coming out of the corner because that scrubs off some speed and that kills you down this whole backstretch. So we start our next corner entry in the middle of the track here, and as we turn down, so you can see I'm keeping the throttle on and I'm not really turning in quite yet. So because you're going down the banking and the car's a bit loose, it kind of starts the turn for itself on both ends of the track. So you can wait just a second until the car sits down into the corner to start adding in your steering wheel. If you start turning in too soon, too quick, then the car can feel really, really loose. But once again, hooking this bottom line and you just want to sit right down on it, get as low as you're comfortable with getting, but don't hit that apron. On the exit, the car is going to start feeling a little bit more loose, so you can see right as I'm exiting the corner, I'm already straightening the steering wheel back out, so I'm unwinding that steering wheel. If you keep the steering in it for too long, the car still wants to try to spin out on you. So that really begs the question, what do you do if the car starts to get too loose? Well, thankfully, you've got a couple options. You might get really loose in the draft because you're going to be running faster than you will be by yourself. So if that does happen to you, when you go into the corner and it gets a bit loose, just hold the steering wheel in a more neutral position. Kind of hold it straight, and then the banking and the momentum of the car will actually straighten the car back out, and you should be fine if it hasn't started to go around too far. Coming up in turn 3 here, in this example, if it does start going around too far, you're going to have to do a little bit of counter steering and just let out of the throttle to maybe halfway. Keep that momentum up and the car will probably right itself. Do pay close attention to how your steering wheel feels. If you've started to turn into the slide and your steering wheel feels light, like it's trying to tug the other way, then that means the back of the car is either going to fall in line where it needs to be, or it's going to try to go too far the other direction. So you're going to have to play with it to see what your wheel feels like under those conditions. But do know, in the middle of one of these slides, don't hurry the car. Sometimes you're just going to have to be patient with it and let it slide a little bit until you can gather it back up and get it under control. If you rush it, that's when people end up getting into tank slappers and things like that and losing control of the car. Now, I kind of alluded to this, but the line that you'll run in qualifying is roughly the same that you'll do in the race. But because you're going faster and in the draft, the car's a bit looser and a bit more on edge. So just pay attention to your steering. I'm having to do a little bit more steering, and I did have to lift out of the throttle just a bit to keep the car under control. So how strong is the draft exactly? I keep talking about it, but is it really all that important? And the answer is, you can just see this clip. I'm a pretty good ways back. We're coming to the final lap of the race, lap 20, and I've got all this distance to make up. Turns out the draft is actually worth about 3 to 4 tenths of a second per lap. So it's monumental what you can gain. And that's another part of what makes this track so fun, because it's almost like a chess match. You can use the draft and get right up on somebody. You can choose to pass them on the low or the high side. If there's, say, another car on the high side for you to draft with, you can probably make a move work. Or you can stay low and pull right up behind them and don't touch them, because these cars don't like to bump draft very well. But if you just pull right up on them, just the air from the nose of your car can propel them forward, and you can both make a pass together. So most of your racing is going to be done on the lower side of the track, but if you do have a partner to draft with, you can actually make some moves work in the higher lines. So I'm a real big fan of the AI racing because I think it can help a lot of people. So I actually got all this B-roll footage by using the AI, and here's the settings that I used. This AI skill range mimicked a lot of the lap times that I'm seeing on the street stock leaderboards. So there's that if you want to give it a try. Oh, and I almost forgot. The only setup change that I made is I did raise the steering ratio from 12 to 1 to 14 to 1. So I'm not sure how much of a difference it's actually going to make in your lap times, but for me it was more comfortable. If you're more comfortable with the default 12 to 1, then by all means, leave it right there. And that is going to do it for this street stock guide. So thank you so much if you made it this far in the video. I really do appreciate your support. If you found this helpful and learned some more tricks for the track, then consider leaving a like, comment, or if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you stay around. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.